Today I'm going to show you the easiest way to understand how to get down the basics of reading sheet music. And here's the thing, if you watch until the end of this video, I'm going to show you a really powerful tool to use to help you practice these notes. That way, when it comes to real sheet music, you'll be able to go through it with ease. And also, if you have not watched the first video, this is actually a series. If you have not watched the first video, please watch that first and then follow the videos to come back to this. This will help you understand a lot better. That video is in the description box where it says video 1. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go over some of the sheet music basics. You should be able to see my iPad here. If I brighten it a little too much, you might, okay, that's perfect. Now, what you're looking at here, this is the basic setup of sheet music. If you've seen sheet music, you can see how this looks very familiar. You've seen this guy before, you've probably seen this guy before. And what this basically is this is the setup for the notes that you need to play on the piano. So when a note falls on a particular area on one of these lines of spaces, that note is assigned to a particular key on the piano. Now, here's the thing, with different instruments, they use different what's called staves. This is called a staff here when you see 5 lines and 4 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a staff here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a staff here. This guy is called the treble clef. I'll get into why it's called the treble clef. This one's called the bass clef. This is to indicate that these groups of notes here is different than the groups of notes here. That's why you have a different clef here. We're going to go over this one in a different video. I want to focus on the treble clef today. Now, because of the piano being such a large instrument with a large variation of keys, you have to have 2 of these to cover the entire scope of the piano. So the basic layout of it is that the bass clef covers the lower notes on the piano for the most part, and the treble clef here covers the notes on the higher part of the piano. The basic structure is that most of the time, the notes here on the bottom staff is played by the left hand. The top notes here are played by the right hand. Because if you were to lay their hands on the piano, naturally the left hand is going to fall closer to the lower notes. The right hand is going to fall closer to the higher notes. So to make it easier, what happens is basically the music is broken up into halves. So the notes that you see down here are played by the left hand / the lower notes. And then the top staff here is played by the right hand / the higher notes. So the treble clef basically indicates to you, if you see a treble clef to the left of the staff, that means these are the higher notes. If you see a bass clef here on the staff, that means you're dealing with the lower notes. So again, today we're going to focus just on the treble clef. Now on the piano, right, there's a particular note called middle C, because there's more than one C on the piano. If you watch video 1, you probably grasped that already. So in order to kind of figure out a reference point, middle C is always going to be the C closest to the center of the piano. And that's going to be this guy, right? There's a higher C, there are lower Cs, but there's middle C. And middle C will always have that same tone, ba versus ba or ba, right? So middle C is always going to have ba, right? With that said, middle C has a very special place on sheet music. If you're dealing with the treble clef, you're going to see a small little line, and you're going to see a note that goes through, that the line goes through. That note, whenever you see this key, right, that is middle C. That means anytime you see this particular C in this particular spot on the treble clef with the line going through it, that means you have to play middle C on the piano. So that's the first thing you want to keep in mind. Now, another note you may want to think about is this note. I know my drawing is not very good, but I think you get the point. So this one is also on the outside of the staff, but it does not have the line going through it. That is the very next key up, which is middle D. So you have a line and then you have a note in the space. That note on the space is middle D. So that's the next key up, right? So you have middle C and then you have middle D. And then if you go up again, you're going to have this key fall on the first long line on the staff. This, as you might have guessed, is middle E. So if you're going step by step, right, C, D, E, you notice that the notes will go in line space fashion. Now, here is an easier way. If you're just familiarizing yourself with the names of the keys or the names of the notes on the staff, actually, before I get into that, before I continue, if you're looking for more hands-on learning, if you want to work with me in a virtual group setting, I have a coaching program. There is a free 7-day access to my coaching program intro series in the description box. If you want to check that out, that is also in there. So back to this. Now we know where middle C, middle D, and middle E are, but what about the other notes on the staff? So when we learn music in school, in order to familiarize ourselves with the lines and spaces, the notes that fall where they're supposed to fall, we start with this system that has a sentencing system. Now, what that means is, before I get into that, this line here, as we've already established, is E, right? And then this line here, if you see a note that this line goes through, that's a G. This line has the note B. So if you see a note that falls on this line, you play B. And this one is D, and this one is F. So to help remember that, well, there's a bunch of sentences that you can use, but the most famous one is every good boy does fine. So if you need to figure out what note is on this line, right? All you do is you use your sentences, start from the bottom, you go, every good boy does, and that's how you know that that is D. So this is a good way to, again, when you're learning your sheet music from the very beginning, this is good to help you remember it. This would not be ideal if you're sight reading a song on the fly. I'll cover that in another video, but this is just to get you to name the notes at least where they're supposed to be. Now, what about the spaces? There are 4 spaces on each staff. You got this one, you got this one, you got this one, you got this one. So if you see a note that falls within a space like that, now the note that falls on this space is F. This one, the note that falls in this space is A. The note that falls on this space is C, and the note that falls on this space is E. And if you notice, conveniently, it spells out a very easy word, face. So for example, if you need to figure out what note this is, all you have to do, if it falls within the space, you use the face system, and you go F, A, and that's how you know that it is A. A very good resource to help you practice these notes. There's actually 2 good resources. There's a website called musictheory.net. So not .com, but .net. If you go on there, it should have instructions on how to access free exercises on there on how to name the notes. There's another resource. Now this one you do have to pay for, I think it's like $4, but it's called Tudo. And Tudo is an app that can help you practice naming your keys. So now I may do another video, or I may just do it right now. So if you open this app, you go to note identification, right? And to set it to help you practice the treble clef, you go to the little settings bar here. The first thing you do is you change, you can't see it here, but if you see where it says clefs, you can change it from bass clef to treble clef, and then you go back and you see where it says treble range. Make sure that the top note stops at the F line and the bottom note starts on the C line. And also make sure that the lines and spaces are both checked off. And if you go back to the screen here, you'll see that actually there's one more thing I got to make sure that the note names, and make sure accidentals are also turned off. Those are the black keys. But what this does is it gives you a note, and you can use, again, the system, every good boy does fine. And if you get the right note, it will give you another one. And then you go every good boy. And then you get that one. This one falls on the space. You can use F, A, C, E. So this one would be A. And you can do this for as many times as you want. It's a very good resource. Again, it's a one-time fee, I think of like $4 or $5. But you can use this on your phone, on your tablet. It's a very powerful resource. Most of my students use it, and it's very, very helpful to familiarizing yourself with the notes on the treble and bass clef staff. Which, by the way, the next video that I'm going to be covering is I'm going to be covering the bass clef staff. If I do have that video published by the time you see this video, I'm going to be posting it here on the end screen. You'll be able to click right over to it. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comment section. If you like my content, obviously like, comment, and also subscribe, turn the notification bell on. Thank you for watching. Look forward to seeing you in the next video.